This weekend on the original Rochester Press Box.
Hi, I'm Sal Maiorana from the Democrat and Chronicle, and I'm going to tell you that the Bills need to turn this offense over to Kyle Orton right now.
And I'm John Ditullio. I'll tell you why this may be the most anticipated NBA season ever.
And I'm John Doss from 13 WHAM TV, and I'll tell you why it's a real shame adults are deciding who can and can't play high school football.
I'm Bill Pucko. While the College Football Championship Committee should have held off a bit, join us this weekend on the original Rochester Press Box. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for the original Rochester Press Box. I'm Bill Pucko, joined as always by John Ditullio. Welcome back. You missed a week.
Billy, it's good to be back. I'm glad you're having me.
2-0 with your picks.
Hey, Face is on fire. He's on
Did
fire.
you ask him for your picks this week?
What's that?
Did you ask him for his picks this
No,
week?
I feel strong about my picks.
Very good. John Doss joins us, sitting in for Mike Catalano this week. John, thank you.
Catalana has thrown out his picks, so he doesn't care who I picked this week.
5-11, I think his, so he's still better than me. And Sal Maiorana, we get him on the bye week. It's sort of a press box tradition here because it's the one time during the season we get to tap into your expertise. Democrat and Chronicle, Buffalo Bills beat writer. Sal, 5-3 on the break, perfect right at halftime. It's not the way they expected to get to 5-3, though, is it?
No, it's been an interesting start to the Bills season. I did not have them 5-3, and it really started week one, guys. No one thought they'd go to Chicago and win that game. Now, looking back, Chicago's not very good, so maybe it wasn't a great win. But there have been some crazy ups and downs. You look at the Houston game, they should have won that. But you know what? They should have lost the Detroit game. Yep. So it's just been kind of an up and down. It all evens out. They're 5-3. They've got a chance to make something of this season. But boys, the road gets tough right away. They could be out of it within a 4-day span coming off their bye week. It could be that quickly they could be out of it.
The focal point has to be the quarterback change, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they don't make that quarterback change, they don't win the Detroit game, and they most likely don't win the Minnesota game because I don't think E.J. Manuel pulls either one of those out. So their season would already be over. Kyle Orton, no great shakes, let's face it. He's not Peyton Manning. But I'll tell you what, you can do a whole lot worse than Kyle Orton. And he really has helped them to turn their season around.
Sometimes as stiff as he is in the pocket with that number 18, he looks like Peyton Manning sometimes. But I'll say this, the coaching staff knew this after that Houston game. They knew that their defense was good enough to get to the postseason. They just needed average quarterback play, and E.J. Manuel wasn't giving them average quarterback play. That was painfully obvious in Houston. Kyle Orton has given them average to better than average quarterback play. That's why he's 3-1.
He's the difference. I don't care. Kyle Orton is I know their line is Swiss cheese. They've got injured running backs. That defense is good. And they're getting, as John just mentioned, they're getting above average quarterback play. I'm going to take it a step further. I think Orton gives them a puncher's chance at every game. I don't care who they're playing. They'll be able to move the ball with those weapons because Kyle Orton is spreading the football around to all different types of players. He's making all those receivers better. E.J. Manuel did not do that.
They get to the halfway point and injuries hadn't been a factor, but now the running backs are down and they had no running last week. I mean, how big a problem is this?
Really, they've had no running game all year. It doesn't matter. It all comes back to the offensive line. You could put O.J. Simpson and Emmitt Smith back there right now. They're not going to have a running game behind that offensive line. They have the worst guards in the NFL. Now even Eric Wood has been on a downturn lately. So until they improve the blocking, they're going to be fine with Anthony Dixon and Bryce Brown moving forward, and then Fred Jackson eventually comes back. But there's no other options. You go with the guys you got and keep getting Orton killed and having no running game, or you make a move like this that would be a roll of the dice, but it might pan out.
With 8 games left, Johnny, is it a playoff team?
Yeah. They've got to go 5-3 in the second half of the season. These next 4 games, all winnable. And as Sal mentioned, coming off the bye, Kansas City and Miami. So all these expectation, all this good feeling could be over.
It really could.
Within 10 days, or you win both of those, 7-3. But they've got to find a way to have, I would say, 8 or 9 wins going into December. If they can have 8 wins going into December, they're going to have to win 2. That's Oakland. They're going to have to beat probably Aaron Rodgers at home. You're not beating Peyton Manning, and will they beat Tom Brady in New England?
And the key, it's a good thing that they've won these games,
Yeah.
but 3 of them are NFC victories.
Yes.
Those aren't AFC victories,
Yeah.
so it's great to have them on your record, but those aren't going to help you in December when you need tiebreakers. They've got to win some games moving forward.
All right, rest of the NFL coming up in our next segment on the original Rochester Press Box. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you. We've reached the halfway mark in the National Football League storylines. I mean, John, what has kicked in for you as far as the first half of the NFL season?
Well, the favorites. I think the favorites, we came into a season expecting Denver to be good. Denver is very good. We also expected Seattle to be good. They have not been very good. They've really kind of struggled, especially offensively, to figure out what's going on with that team. In 2 weeks, Russell Wilson looks like the best player in the NFL. He's running for 300 yards, or he's passing for 300 yards, running for another 100. And then 2 weeks in between that, he looks terrible. I think Seattle's really struggling to find an offensive identity, and that's why they're 4-3.
So what do you like?
I've been very intrigued by Dallas. I mean, they lost the other night in a game they probably shouldn't have lost, but I don't think anybody had Dallas being 6-2 at the halfway point. They were supposed to have the worst defense in the history of the NFL, and that hasn't been the case, so I've been impressed by them. Denver's been great. I think that's a juggernaut. They probably should have won the game at Seattle. They probably should have won that game.
How much read do we get on them going into New England this week?
That's going to be a really good game because I think New England has it together too. I mean, the worst thing that could have happened to the Bills was Kansas City doing what they did to the Patriots on that Monday night game, because that woke the Patriots up, and they've been dynastic ever since then. That's going to be a great game. I'm glad the Bills are on the bye this weekend so I could actually watch that game. But Denver and Dallas have been really intriguing teams to me, and I'll tell you, I think having lost the Super Bowl last year, I got to like Denver's chances a lot to get back and win it this year.
To me, I think the NFC is wide open. I don't think it's clear-cut Seattle. I don't think it's clear-cut San Francisco. Arizona's a player. Dallas is a player. I don't know how Detroit is where they are right now. Green Bay, although they lost at New Orleans, they're a player. The Saints can't win on the road, but I think they'll be there. You look at the 4 worst teams in the NFL. I don't think the Bills, are as bad as they've been, have ever been as bad as the Buccaneers, Jacksonville, Oakland, and let's face it, the Jets are atrocious. From top to bottom, the Bills have never been that bad.
See, the Jets aren't atrocious, though.
They're atrocious.
They're atrocious record. They've got some talented players, John. It's just falling apart there.
Wait, John Idzik gives Curley a contract
Well,
extension?
I talked to the
what is that, TJ Graham
I talked to
on
the guys in
steroids?
New York, the writers in New York. They are really the writers in New York are really on Idzik.
He's terrible.
He is a joke, and that's the wrong group of people to get on the wrong side of us. They might lynch that guy over there.
And
they don't like him at all. They hate
awful.
the things he's done. That press conference he had on Monday, like basically a filibuster, that didn't go over well either. So the Jets are a mess, but they've got talented players, John. They do. That is not a 1-7 team when you go top to bottom roster. But 1-7 is 1-7.
And the AFC North is going to be interesting. I think every team in that division has a legitimate shot. Even the Browns, who I'll be talking about in a few minutes, could even make things interesting. Steelers' offense is back. Bengals, The Ravens, to me, look out, could make a push.
We'll do it now. You have the floor. We always make a couple of picks
Yep.
as the Bills aren't playing this week. We'll do the Monday night or two and another game. Give me who you like this week.
I don't like the Giants. I haven't been a fan of the Giants all year. I think the Colts rebound. Listen, Todd Haley and Ben Roethlisberger, and that offense is clicking, so I write that off. The Colts are a better defensive team. Andrew Luck and the Colts, even with the Giants off a bye, I'll take Indy on the road, and I'm on the Browns bandwagon. I've been on the Browns bandwagon since week 1. Buccaneers traded Mark Barron to the Rams. They're a mess right now. They don't have a quarterback. They stink, and they're going to get pounded in Cleveland. I'll take the Browns laying the 6.5. The Browns will be 5-3, playing the Bills in about 3 weeks.
You're
which I
above
think will be
500
fun.
against the point. Sal, who do you like this week?
Well, the Monday night game, I'm going to go with the Colts too. I think the Giants are banged up pretty good. I don't think it's a very good team. I think Indy's going to bounce back after getting spanked big time against Pittsburgh. So I like the Colts in that game. And I'm going to go. I talked about Dallas a few minutes ago. I'm going to take the Cowboys, even though they're coming off a Monday night loss. They're going to be at home again, and Arizona's 6-1. I think it's going to be a really good game. I'm not a firm believer in Arizona yet. I need to see more. I think the Cowboys at home can cover that spread. I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
See, I think Arizona was the story of the first half. It's like they're doing it with mirrors. There's no statistic that backs up Arizona playing the way they have.
Which is why I'm kind of going with Dallas.
Yeah. 11-1 touchdown interception ratio for Carson Palmer and other quarterbacks that have played for Arizona
What do you like?
this year. I think Andrew Luck right now is the best quarterback in the NFL. I think statistically he's one of the best. I think T.Y. Hilton has really come alive in the last 4 games. I like the Colts, especially now they've been woken up by what happened in Pittsburgh this last weekend. And speaking of woken up, remember when, to Sal's point, we thought this Bills division was going to be wide open. Well, it doesn't look wide open anymore. Not in the last 4 weeks. New England is very good. That said, I think Denver is far and away the best team in the NFL. I think that's going to be a great game. I'll give 3 points to New England on the road. I'm taking Denver.
Alrighty, our crew likes San Diego +2 at Miami. San Diego's a good team. And Miami, of course, we have a vested interest in that. Also like Indianapolis, as all you guys have in the Monday Nighter. So I'll take the New York Giants. I'm 4-12 against the points, by the way. So I'll take the New York Giants, and I like the Ravens in a pick'em at Pittsburgh.
Ooh.
All right, like it or not, when we return.
And you don't need to be Native American to realize it is offensive. And it's not politically correct. It's the right thing to do.
He was an idiot for throwing him that pitch. The guy's phenomenal. He had no reason to give him anything, especially a fastball to hit.
It's simply that these two guys, Ronaldo and Tom Brady, are too good looking.
I like it, just don't admit to it.
Everybody wants to hate on the best in the world. You know, he's here to stay, and he wants to build something big time.
The bottom line is, still nobody's going to like A-Rod.
We are back. Thanks for watching the original Rochester Press Box. Like it or not, John, the Aquinas eligibility issue and how they've decided to deal with it.
I don't like it, clearly. I think we talked about this all day yesterday. The rule book is very clear in that it's not clear. Okay? There's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of ambiguity. It says a player needs to be eligible for 3 games. Well, what does that mean, eligible? There's no definition of eligible in that rule book anywhere. And if you want to do that, Jake Zimbeck was eligible to play for Aquinas every week. This isn't the NFL and concussion protocol where he needed to sit weeks out. He broke his wrist in week 2. If he wanted to play week 3, he could have. He was eligible to play in all 7 weeks. I think there's a lot of gray area, and I think it really hurts Section 5. This is a team that could have won its 8th straight sectional title.
9th, actually.
9th straight sectional title.
Yeah.
You know, it seems to me like it's a debate between letter of the law versus spirit of the law.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think it's, common sense should prevail here. Aquinas won the game on the field. This is a technicality. Why punish the kids? I mean, they beat Pittsburgh twice this year on the field. Why punish the Aquinas kids for some ridiculous rule that they apparently got bad information on too, right? I mean, they did ask what's the protocol, and apparently they got the wrong information. And now they get screwed for it. I think it's a ridiculous situation. Who knows what's going to happen with the court injunction? But I would just hope, like I said, common sense should prevail and Aquinas should move on.
It's like a he said thing. Tony Bianchi and Dick Cerrone. I didn't need to get this medical waiver. I mean, really, I think they need to readdress the rule. But if they didn't need the medical waiver, you just needed a doctor's note. I mean, they all knew. So what, if Jake Zembeck throws on a pair of shoulder pads, everything is okay?
Yeah.
So that's where Aquinas is negligible because they didn't have him wear the full uniform. I just find that ridiculous.
To me is that on Tuesday, this between your show and the Bob Matthews show that follows on WHAM generated 5 solid hours of discussion. It shocked me how much people cared about
it. It was the biggest story on the newspaper's website. Yeah. It blew up on our website too. Massive, way more than my bill stuff.
What do we read into that?
I just don't think it's a black and white issue where they just send in the form, this is all taken care of.
Well, what you read into this, Bill, is it's Aquinas.
Yeah.
Aquinas is a hot topic because of them playing in Section 5 and the alleged recruiting that they're always been getting called out on. If it was any other team, it probably wouldn't be nearly as hot a topic. But Aquinas brings out
any other team.
Yeah.
But it's also, when this is all said and done, Jake Zembeck will be the hottest recruited player probably in Section 5 history, especially given he's a quarterback. It seemed like a bit of a 17-year-old witch hunt to me.
Yeah, it's nice to him. At least he's got his senior year left. John, like it or not, the college playoff committee. Yeah,
I like it.
And they're coming out the first
I like
week.
it. I mean, listen, it's the first week. Probably, I don't know if I would have had Ole Miss at 4 or at 3, excuse me. At 4. I don't know. I'll let the whole thing play out. I'm just glad that they have a playoff. So I think when it's all said and done, there's some smart people in that room. Let's let this whole thing play out in a month, and let's see what happens. And if there's 3 SEC teams in there or 2, I don't care. Then they probably deserve to be there.
I think ultimately they're going to get the right 4 teams.
Yeah,
in.
they will.
But I don't understand why we have to do it now. Why do we have to have 5 or 6 weeks of this top 4 coming out? That's what we have polls for, is to drive that argument. Why not put the first top 4 after the regular season, and then when the conference championships are done, then you get your 4? Why do we need this now?
I think it's to avoid controversy at the end of the year. This is where we had you at the, so you kind of know what you got to do the rest of the way. Right. I think that's why they're doing it. That's
Either way,
my only.
They're doing it for TV ratings.
Well, that too.
That's what they're doing.
Don't point at me. We used to complain,
yeah, John.
We used to complain about who was 3. Now we're going to complain about who was 5. I'm a Pac-12 guy. Clearly, I don't like the rankings so far. Yeah. I really don't think, with all the limited exposure we have to out-of-conference games, every team only plays 3 or 4 out-of-conference games a year. I think it's tough for me to say that you can put 3 teams from one conference into top 5, or potentially 3 teams in the playoff.
Unfinished business when we return. We are back. This is the original Rochester Press Box. It is time for Unfinished Business. John, as always, you start.
Now, I'm an NBA guy. I know Sal is not, but I wish, Catalan and I are maybe the biggest NBA fans or NBA fans here in town. The NBA tipped off this week. Now, this may be the most anticipated season since, I don't know, a few years ago when LeBron went to Miami and joined forces with the Big Three. LeBron's in Cleveland. Derrick Rose is back in Chicago. San Antonio trying to do something, or Tim Duncan trying to do something that only Michael Jordan's done in the last 20 years, win 6 NBA championships. We wait for Kevin Durant to come back from Oklahoma City. My whole point is the NBA, for me, is as popular now that it's ever been since Michael Jordan stepped away. And people always want to bring up the 80s, and I loved and I lived through the 80s in the NBA. You want to know something? The Lakers were in the finals 8 out of the last 10 years, but that's okay with people when they look back at the so-called glory days. So when I look at the NBA Finals this year, the last 4 years, we saw Miami in the finals each and every year that LeBron was there. LeBron's probably going to get back to the finals this year, and to me, that is a great thing. I would love to see LeBron hand Cleveland its first championship in 50 years. That's why I think this is the most anticipated NBA season in a long, long time.
You think he's going to do it?
My gut says yes. And I'm anxious to see how Miami plays with the big 2. I think Cleveland gets to the finals. Who they got to go through? Will it be San Antonio? Will it be the Clippers? Will it be a healthy Oklahoma City? I don't know, but I got to think LeBron gets Cleveland to the finals.
Sal, what do you
first year?
Bye week for the Bills is this week, or we're at the end of it now. I hope the Bills spent the self-scouting portion of this week trying to figure out what to do with this offense. Now, I know this seems weird coming off a game where they won by 20 points and scored 43 points in the game, but I have been, and I'm sure many fans out there have been, frustrated by this team's inability to find an identity on offense. Now, 4 weeks ago, they took E.J. Manuel out and put Kyle Orton in. That should have been the tipping point for Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, to turn this offense over to a veteran quarterback. This is the first time now he's had a veteran quarterback where he can open the playbook up and do something with it. This team does not run the ball well. Their top 2 running backs are now hurt. This needs to be a passing team moving forward into the second half of the season. Kyle Orton can handle this. Sammy Watkins is a dynamic player, and the Bills have to shift their focus, or I fear that defenses are going to crush the running game and end this playoff run, if we want to call it that, pretty quickly.
Boy, no one wants to see that happen. It's not a major shift, is it?
No, it really shouldn't, guys. Their most talented players now are in the passing game, especially with Spiller and Jackson sideline. So they've got to find a way to get this thing turned around and turn it over to Kyle Orton. Let him do his thing.
Yeah, and with all they invested into Watkins with a half season under his belt, too, I mean, he's got to be better equipped to handle this, too.
Boy, and he's looked great, by the way.
John.
Investment well made. Earlier this week, Chris Battaglia had to call in a meeting of his football players, of his high school football players, of his football players that are 16, 17, 18-year-olds, some of which are seniors, that are looking for their 9th straight Section 5 title, and tell them that their season was over because of a technicality. I am all for rules. I am all for punishing people who break rules. I am also for clarity, and I am also for common sense. Clearly, this rule was not intended to punish a team like Aquinas for what they've done. I think, why can't we just sometimes throw the rules out in terms of common sense? Why can't somebody who runs a league or runs a section come out and say, you know what, we made a mistake. That was not the intent of the law. It may have been the ambiguous letter of the law, but it was not the intent. I want to see Aquinas playing football this weekend.
And last week when they used Jake Zembeck, I think it's important to note that there was no evil intent there. That Zembeck could have been easily cleared to play that game, and it's not that, you know, Pittsford or anybody could make the claims that we got beat by an ineligible player.
He was cleared the week before for their regular season finale at St. Francis. Coach Battaglia said, it's wet out there, it's muddy. I don't want to put my quarterback at risk, not for this game, not for his future. He made that decision, and then he went out, he wanted to play for his teammates in the postseason, and now they're being punished for that.
I've got just a footnote to the college committee. Sal sort of brought up my point. He said, you know, when the committee came out with the 4 teams, they have 7 of these polls that come out periodically throughout the rest of the college football season. I don't have any use for these. I think all it does, as John suggested, is makes their job a little bit easier. The worst part about polls of any kind when they come out is that you slot the teams. Michigan State at 8, Notre Dame at 10 on the first one. You know, what has Notre Dame got to accomplish to pass Michigan State if Michigan State beats Ohio State? They can't do it because you've already locked in these teams. I'd have preferred they just got together in December when it was time to put the 4 teams together, announce the 4 teams, and then run for the hills. It would have been a much better solution. The Rochester Press Box airs Saturday night and then again on Sunday at 11:30 on both Fox Rochester and 13 WHAM News. John, as always, great.
Good stuff.
Keep up the good work with the picks. John Doss, great to have you. Finally, we got you.
Good to be here.
Busy schedule. And Sal, the bye-week tradition, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And thanks again for watching. We'll see you next week.